Hold on a second. I say something.
Something.
Wow. So, um, OBS uh, did a update today and completely shut off all of my audio.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So this entire show wasn't being broadcast on YouTube. I did record it though, so I'll upload it later.
All
Um,
right.
but
Fair enough.
uh, I just now noticed that my levels weren't jumping, and I had to go in and reset all the speakers and everything.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, but hey, you know what? I'll upload this. It'll definitely be on our Patreon, um, and I'll have it for free on our Patreon for a little bit. So you'll be able to hear this, and I'll get, like I said, I'll get it all uploaded. Anyway, um,
So I guess my bottom line here is, as I can see why if people like were really going into this expecting the Dark Phoenix saga, were really big, X-Men movie fans, that they would be disappointed by this movie. But I think coming in, a couple years later, knowing they weren't actually going to be able to do Dark Phoenix, I was able to enjoy this as like a popcorn type movie rather than thinking too much about the mythology of it.
yeah, I mean, and that's pretty much what it was a popcorn movie. Um, I it was okay for what it was. I mean, it was the proper X-Men. I've always felt like the X-Men stories were a little bit slower than they probably should have been. But ultimately, I think script-wise, and maybe it's because, like you'd said originally, this needed to be a much longer movie, or maybe a multi-part movie, um, or maybe the Dark Phoenix story should have been led up to in the previous movies. Maybe they could have given a little more backstory towards a character in the movies leading up to this.
Yeah, I think that they've now in both times they've done the X-Men kind of like the original trilogy and the reboot. They've kind of jumped the gun on it where they want to do this big story right away rather than letting it progress. And I think that probably has a lot to do with the way that contracts with actors work, right? where you usually only have like a three-picture deal with somebody and then they go off to do something else, or a five-picture deal and they go off to do something else, which is why I think it would work a lot better in a television series where you maybe have signed them for like a 5 year series of like a 5 year contract to work on a TV series rather than like a five picture deal where you've got more time to tell the story. You know.
Well, that's what I was saying when we discussed Wonder Woman a couple weeks ago. I feel like DCU and their TV series is so much better done because they seem to flesh out the characters more. Where Marvel, the MCU and whatever Marvel's doing, they're able to, even though Tony Stark only had three standalone movies and then three of well, four if you count the fourth one. His character was fleshed out in some of the other movies too. He was a part of the Hulk. He was a part of, briefly a part of Spider-Man. So you got
Captain
to,
and Captain and Captain America Winter Soldier, which is really an Avengers movie, but is billed as a
right.
Captain America movie.
You're talking Civil War.
Isn't that what I said? Oh, I said Winter
Winter
Soldier. Yeah,
Soldier.
you're right. So, yeah, Civil War.
But it's like they fleshed out the characters so much better because they had their own standalone movies. Then they also had their appearances in other people's movies, and I felt like they did a much better job in the MCU of fleshing out characters. And then, of course, my favorite is still the DCU TV universe, where you really get to know the characters.
Yeah.
I don't feel like, and I said this about the Wonder Woman movie. I don't think DCU knows how to flesh out characters in movies, and it looks like Fox doesn't either.
Um, one thing we did mention in this movie that I really wanted to bring up because I really love the character and we finally got to see her in a movie. Was it was cool to see, even though it was very briefly and it wasn't the way I would have liked to have seen her. We got to see Dazzler in this movie.
Yeah, we did briefly, very
Yeah,
briefly.
yeah. Because Dazzler is part of my favorite X Men lineup. My favorite X Men lineup was the one from the Fall of the Mutants, where after the Fall of the Mutants it ends up being Colossus, Havoc, Storm, Rogue, Wolverine, Dazzler, Longshot, and Psylocke. when they're living in Australia and all that stuff.
Yeah, but
So
Dazzler really, I don't, was she
she,
really a big, she didn't really have a big part.
in the movie,
Yeah,
no, she didn't. I'm just saying that I was it was great to be able to actually see her in a movie though, just because we have never done that. We've never seen her before.
yeah, it's true.
And she has one of the coolest powers, in my opinion, where she has the ability to absorb sound waves and turn them into light.
Right.
You know,
Yeah, and hopefully they can,
and she's taken down the goddamn juggernaut with her powers. So
right. Yeah, I think she, I mean, she just had a cameo in this, didn't
yeah,
she? She didn't really
yeah,
have,
she was like kind of like she was the entertainment at that campfire.
right,
Yeah, she was like in the first like maybe 10 minutes of the movie for about
30
10 seconds.
seconds. Was it? Um, but yeah, you're right. I mean, it was nice to be able to see another character that we remember, even if it was very brief.
Right. I mean they've not done any. There's plenty of actors they have, or characters they have not done well in this series, which gives, like you said, Marvel Studios a chance to do them well in the future.
Well, and I'm hoping that they do.
But what I would not want to see, and just because I'm not never been a big fan of that lineup, as you had mentioned the original X-Men lineup, I really don't would not want to see a movie focused on just those characters. You know,
I think if they're going to do it, they need to go in a whole new direction, but not a reboot. I think they need to do the same thing with the Fantastic Four. Um,
and they're actually doing Fantastic Four before they're doing X-Men.
I just think that if they're going to do this, they're going to need to change the. I don't want to see another um, movie where they are another origin movie. I don't want to see another origin movie at this point. I mean, we've seen the story so many times. Do we need to see another origin movie on these characters?
We do not. I would love to. I really want them to like I said get pulled into another get pulled in either through the microverse or through the Doctor Strange movie. Get pulled in some way that they're already a fully formed team.
Same thing with the with Fantastic Four, because
Yes,
I just don't want
yes,
to. I just
because again, it doesn't make any sense that they would. You know, I've also heard that the Fantastic Four might end up springing from, instead of their origin being they go into space and they get their powers that way, that it might end up being that the Infinity Wave caused them to have their powers.
oh, that would be cool.
Yeah,
And that'd be a nice way to explain them entering and not being a part of the original fight.
exactly. And I really, 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 really hope that the rumors are true and John Krasinski gets cast as Reed Richards, because to me, that's the most perfect casting in a Marvel project besides perhaps the Punisher casting. Because I thought that one was perfect, but I think John Krasinski as Reed Richards would be amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I really liked that kid from Hunger Games that played him in the last Fox movie.
I did not see that one.
I really liked him in it.
But I mean, I think if you've seen Krasinski in The Office and you've seen him as Jack Ryan um,
Oh yeah, he's brilliant.
in Amazon Prime, that he's just got everything that you would need to play Reed Richards.
Yeah,
You know,
he's brilliant. He would be great at it.
yeah,
But yeah, I mean, I guess that's we'll find out how they do that. I'm just hoping that, like you said, they bring them in a way that they
that makes
bring
sense.
they bring them in a way that makes sense to the story, because not having any of the mutants involved in Endgame,
Hmm.
not having the Fantastic Four involved in Endgame, and what I mean by mutants is not just the X-Men, but also Magneto and his group. Why would they not be there trying to fight and save reality too?
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
so
I mean, unless they were like imprisoned somewhere. That's the only other way it would make sense is if they were like imprisoned or they were trapped someplace or
every
you know
mutant on the planet.
Well, that's no, that's true. But I mean, like but I mean the big teams, like if like the Brotherhood of Mutants were trapped someplace, or the X-Men were trapped someplace, even if they were trapped someplace fighting each other.
Right.
That's how it would make sense. And then if that were the case, would also need to see them also have been devastated by what happened, what Thanos did. Where they're also missing people.
But was Thanos' snap across dimensions, or was it just the dimension that they were currently in?
No, I'm no, no. I said that badly. If it turns out that they were in our dimension but somehow trapped, like imprisoned, or they were like, trapped like, I don't know, in some kind of a frozen type thing, then I think that his snap should have affected them in some manner. Whereas if they were in a different dimension, then yeah, it probably wouldn't have.
Hey, that would be a way to bring to not bring Professor X and Magneto back.
Yes,
But
please,
when
Marvel powers that be, please be listening to this.
but when Tony did the his snap, he brought it all back. He brought everybody back, except
Did he?
for he couldn't bring back Natasha because Banner tried that and he couldn't do it.
That's right. That's right. He did bring them back. They just didn't. They just didn't have like the last 5 years, right?
Yeah, they didn't have the last 5 years. They came back at the moment that they disappeared.
Right.
And then there were certain people that couldn't come back, like Natasha was one of them, and who
And
was the other one?
Gamora.
And Gamora.
Yeah,
But Gamora,
Gamora's back time travel wise, but she's not the Gamora
that
that
we
was
knew,
part of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
right? She's a new Gamora who now has to learn everything about what the old Gamora did for the last 5 years,
Right.
6 years, whatever.
Right.
And of course, Steve Rogers is old now,
Right.
so he won't be a part of it. But
Yeah,
anyway,
you're right. Yeah. Yeah. So I guess you're right. We wouldn't necessarily see that tragedy with the X teams. Oh well.
yeah, it happens. Anyway, okay, so I
The,
have nothing.
the, the biggest part about Fantastic Four joining the Marvel Universe is we get to see fucking Ben Grimm in there, which he's amazing.
It depends on which Ben Grimm they go with. Like, I really like the version, and I know he's probably much older, so he's not going to be a guy that's going to be a part of it. But the original Ben Grimm from the original Fantastic Four movies, I absolutely loved him.
Oh, was that Michael Chiklis?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. He was probably my favorite. But I saw the second Fantastic Four movie, and I didn't really like the Ben from that one. I didn't
I,
like.
I didn't I didn't necessarily I didn't wasn't necessarily talking about the actor. I was talking about the character.
Oh, yeah. Oh, because just so we can hear its clobbering time like 14 times a game.
Well, he's also like that big beast with a heart of gold too.
Yeah, true.
I don't know. I've always thought that Ben Grimm was the best part of the Fantastic Four.
How are they going to? That's one that I never really understood. But the Human Torch, Johnny Storm, and then the Torch from the X-Men. How are they going to get those two together?
Torch from the X-Men. What are you
The
talking
I
about?
can't remember his name, but there was it was called Firestorm or something. He ended up turning on the X-Men and joining Magneto's group.
Pyro?
Yeah, him and Iceman were like best friends, and then he turned on them to be a part of Magneto's little group or whatever.
Okay, so Johnny Storm has the ability to actually turn into living magma and flies around, whereas Pyro can manipulate flame, but he doesn't have the other abilities. Like he has to have like an actual fire flame source in order to be able to control it. So they're completely different characters.
Okay. All right, that makes sense. I really should have brushed
I
up on my X-Men movie
I would
theology.
I do think it'd be really funny though, like if we had with and I know that he's no longer even playing the role of Cap anymore, but I think it'd be really cool if we saw a scene with um with Chris Evans in there as Captain America, and he sees Johnny Storm. He's like, "There's something familiar about that guy."
Yeah, that would be fun. Or even if he played both characters briefly and we had one of those split screens where they're staring at each other, because he comes from, they could pull it off. He does come from a different dimension,
Yeah, that's true.
if that's the way that they go with the story.
Yeah, but like you said, they'd have to have an older version of him.
Yeah.
Speaking of older versions of things, and I know this is completely off topic, completely different universe, but did you see the news that came out this week about the Batman stuff coming out?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so spinning out of the Flash, they're going to have. It sounds like they're going to either in the movie, either in future movies, or maybe even in movies focusing on the character, they're going to have two different Batmen. And the speculation was that it was going to be Robert Pattinson playing the young version, which is true,
Mhm.
and Ben Affleck playing the older version, which is now false. It's actually going to be Michael Keaton.
Oh. Oh, I don't want that though. Because everybody remembers Michael Keaton as being arguably the best Batman ever. I mean, my favorite is still Christian Bale, but a lot of people are on the Michael Keaton bandwagon. If he comes back as an old Batman, I don't want it to ruin my image of him you know, as the good Batman.
Well, he's definitely coming back as Batman in the Flash movie.
Okay.
So, but it sounds like he's also going to be appearing in other movies, like maybe Justice League and some other movies as Batman as well.
Speaking of which, how far into the TV series Flash are you? Are you almost done with it?
I've got 13 episodes left of each Supergirl and Flash. Or, no, I'm sorry, I'm on episode 13 of each of the seasons. So I've got like what 7 episodes left of each of them, 6 episodes left of each of them, something like that.
Okay, I
So I
can't
should so I should
remember.
be so I should be caught up by. I'm hoping to get caught up by the time Batwoman premieres next Sunday.
I can't remember when it was, but there was a brief movie crossover onto the CW Flash. I just don't know if you've gotten there yet. You'll
That was
know.
part of that was
What's
part
that?
of This they showed it during Crisis.
Okay, that's what it was. I knew there was, but there was that little brief where it was the Flash from the movies appearing on the Flash TV show.
Yeah, where Ezra Miller and Grant Gustin were yeah they were like nice costume. Yeah,
Right. Yeah,
yeah,
okay. Okay, good. I didn't know if you'd seen that yet, but I thought that was kind of a little cool thing that they did.
yeah. I still think my favorite part of all of that was when we see the Robin from the old TV series, like looking up like maybe like a minute into Crisis, and he's like, "Holy," whatever he says. But it was pretty funny.
I think I want to go back and watch Crisis again.
Yeah, I watched it again this past week. So,
Well, yeah, you got there during the timeline, so or watching the shows you're watching, so that makes sense. But
and I also rewatched the Arrow season finale because the first time I watched it I was distracted, so I wanted to just sit and watch the whole episode all in one shot, and it was fantastic.
yeah,
Yeah, it was really cool. Seeing that Arrow season finale, I think was really well done. Hopefully Supergirl and Black Arrow, which are both ending this year, will be as well done.
Supergirl and who?
Supergirl and Black Lightning are both ending this year
Okay.
as well.
Yeah, Black Lightning, I felt like ran its course, so that makes sense. Although, I mean, it's there's just too many of these superheroes in the same dimension now.
Well, I guess you'll be happy to know that they've decided to pass on the Green Arrow spinoff.
There was a Green Arrow spinoff.
They were planning on doing Green Arrow and the Canaries set in 2040.
Okay, well that wouldn't be bad because I kind of like those characters.
I do too, but they decided to go with the fucking Superman show instead. So
Oh, great. That sounds
did you not
wonderful.
did you not know
Yeah.
about that?
No, I didn't. And now,
Superman and Lois focusing on Superman learning how to be a father and raise his kids.
oh dear sweet Jesus. I just no. Oh,
I know.
I've had my fill of Superman.
I have too.
I'm kind of getting there with Batman. The only time I want to see those two now is in in Justice League, having their brief parts in Justice League, but not being the main story. I'm done seeing those two as main stories.
Yeah, I mean between between Black Lightning ending, Supergirl ending, um, what they do, the Batwoman change, and deciding to go with Superman and Lois instead of Green Arrow and the Canaries, which would have been an amazing show. Um, I'm a bit put off by what they're doing with that universe now.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm glad I watched what I watched and that it's done. Um, I wouldn't mind watching another season of Flash, and DC and Legends, but I felt like my whole DC universe story wrapped up
With Crisis.
with the end of last season.
Okay, gotcha.
And across the board, I felt like I was in a good place. I mean, granted, the Flash didn't really end the way that it should have, but I'm okay with the way that it ended, and that's because they couldn't film the last 3 episodes. But I'm okay with the way that they all wrapped up. I'm okay being done
It,
with the DCU on TV,
it,
especially
I,
if
I
what
think
you're saying
Supergirl.
is
I think the Supergirl and Flash seasons are kind of weird in the sense that they're they don't normally do this on Supergirl and Flash where they were like the first half of the season were one thing and the second half of the season are completely different. You know.
no, they don't. But it felt like, I mean, Flash is the only one that didn't feel like a true ending
Okay,
because
and I wouldn't know yet.
yeah, and I don't want to say anything because I don't want to ruin the last 13 episodes or whatever. But Supergirl, I felt like ended fine. I was okay with Black Lightning, same thing. Batwoman, yeah, that one kind of had a crappy ending too, and now with a different actress, I don't know that I care to see the ending. Um, I don't know. I'm okay being done with the DCU on TV right now. If it were to end and never, I wouldn't mind seeing more Flash and more Legends, but the rest of them I'm okay with being done with.
Well, Supergirl is actually according to the poster for the upcoming season, they're bringing Rain back for Supergirl season 6.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, what? How?
Well, Samantha's still alive,
Well, yeah, but she
and
caught.
now we have other dimensions, and those same and those witches were those witches came back. Argo is still there, so they can still get more of the what was that stuff called
I just.
from from Argo. So I mean, it's possible.
Yeah, but we saw that story. I,
Right. I'm hoping that she's back like on Supergirl's side and not opposing her.
yeah, I mean, I don't want to see her as the big bad again. We saw that.
Right. But I really liked the character.
Oh yeah,
I thought I was disappointed when she left the show.
yeah, and she
But
moved.
it but it's but it sounds like she left because she was under contract with another show, and now that show ended, so she's able to come back.
It was nice. It was a nice story to have it end where, the bad part of her died, but the good part of her lived and was able to continue on.
Right.
Um, I just don't want to see, unless she comes back, like you said, as a hero. I don't want
Hmm.
to see it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. So, well, maybe we should wrap this up so we can talk about our other stuff.
Yeah, because we have a lot to talk about, guys.
All right.
If you are on and we're able to hear anything, great, thank you. We're about 15, 20 minutes. We're gonna do our second live show of the day, which is our wrestling talk. And there's a lot to talk about. So if you're into that, please check it out. If you do want to hear this review, it will be up on Patreon later, and I'm going to try to upload a complete version onto YouTube as well. So you can actually hear the parts that were missed because of the stupid OBS update. Um, but that'll be on later. Otherwise, we'll see you in a few, I guess, right?
Right.